Howdy mates, how are we all doing? It is Saturday, January 15th, 2023. I'm over by Caspersen Beach, which is over by Venice. And by the way, if you did not know, Caspersen is one of the shark's tooth capitals of Florida. And you may have noticed, like, I'm actually wearing double layer. That's just because I forgot to bring my jacket. Yeah. It happens, but double layer, good to go. I figured while I was here, there was actually a plant that I wanted to talk about that is actually now currently blooming, as a matter of fact. Notice some of these structured flowers right here. If you look carefully enough, you can see that we have some devil's backbone, which actually falls under the genus of Carencho. However, I'm not going to try pronouncing the species name because it's a bit complicated to pronounce. Not as good with Latin name pronunciations. But what you all should know is this is actually an invasive plant. Despite how pretty it looks, you know, upon initial sight, this plant, even though there are some parts of Florida it's not listed as an invasive species, it should be. This plant is actually originally from Madagascar, and there's no like real confirmation as to how it was brought here, but it was most likely for ornamental reason. And as you can see here, it's actually a succulent plant. So it actually uses a form of I think it's called CAM photosynthesis, which I can provide a bit more of that in the description. But they are known to have flowers that kind of resemble looking at a trumpet. You know, kind of like your trumpet honeysuckle. Looks a little similar, but still a completely different plant. See, what makes it difficult to control is the seeds are dispersed by wind. So you figure with how breezy it is, you could say the plant is getting a great opportunity to spread around, more or less. So the issue, though, from what I've noticed, is there are still some stores that actually sell that plant, like for cultivation, and frankly, that should not be the case at all. I mean, for instance, a couple weeks ago, when I went to, what was it? Babcock Ranch. They had like a little nursery there, and they were actually selling that plant that was already like propagated. So it raised a little bit of red flags for me. So I'll be sure to like provide, you know, a little reading that goes a bit more in depth on the plant. But this time of year, you will really see them quite prevalently. They like dry soil. So given that we're basically right next to the Gulf, we're gonna have very sandy soil that is also very dry. But I wanted to show you guys one last little tidbit for me to wrap up this video, because as you can see, it is nearly approaching sunset. So give me just a second. Alright, here we go. So given how much of a cold front we're actually getting right now, with the prevailing winds coming from the northwest, we are getting some amazing wave action on the Gulf right now. Just look at this. The sheer power of water. I actually made a post about water in general yesterday on my personal page, so some of you may have already seen it, but the point was, you know, there are water quality issues all over the world. And not pointing any fingers, but some people make it sound like Florida has the worst of it all. Which, I mean, in a sense, sure. But if you compare other third world countries, they have it even worse. You know, especially when it comes to availability of accessible water. So it's one of those things, like, it shouldn't be an issue that divides us, but rather it should be a type of issue that encourages unity. Because I'll tell you what, it is water that truly connects us all. It's something we all have in common. It's for another thing, when we start to understand that, is when we start to care. And then when we start to actually care, that is when we'll start protecting. But just, wow. I'll tell you what, just, nature is truly remarkable, what she can provide. But yet she's also a force for us to respect. She does certainly provide a necessary recharge. Wow. You could say, like, with what's happening with the water right now, is a necessary cleansing. And for another, I recently saw that one of my old teachers, Michael Koenig, or as I like to call him, Professor Koenig, he's recently started seeing more of my work. And I go back a long way with him. He was one of my first geology professors during high school. And I was in his physical geology, and I was also in his historical geology. And you could say, with his style of teaching, and us doing field trips, it was really his classes that really provided further inspiration to pursue interpretation and just understanding more of our planet. So, thank you, Mr. Koenig. Oh man. So, alright, you guys, take care, stay warm, enjoy your weekend, and Journey on a Journey is checking out. Take care, folks. See ya.